It is not made of gold or silver, but it carries a weight far heavier than its 8.1 grams. It is the 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar, stamped with the year 1979, the inscription Liberty, the national motto In God We Trust, and the timeless Latin phrase E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one. This coin represents one of the most fascinating chapters in American history. It is a story of how the United States of America tried to squeeze the legacy of a fierce revolutionary, a woman who fought for the right to vote, into the same pocket change that paid for a cup of coffee. It is also the story of how a giant leap for mankind found a permanent home next to a woman's portrait. And it is the story of a coin that almost nobody wanted, yet today, it is a sought-after treasure. Let's travel back to the mid-1970s. The United States government had a problem in their pockets. The $1 bill was wearing out too fast, costing the Treasury millions in reprinting costs every single year. At the same time, the existing $1 coin, the massive Eisenhower dollar, was a failure. It was huge, heavy, and felt like carrying a silver hubcap in your pants. Nobody used it. The mint needed a solution. A new, smaller dollar coin that would save money and actually circulate. The Treasury Department and the Mint wanted this coin to be different. Originally, the plan was to put an allegorical figure on the front, a beautiful, generic liberty, like they had done for 150 years. Chief engraver Frank Gasparro had already designed a stunning, flowing hair liberty figure that was ready to go. But Washington had other ideas. A powerful movement was sweeping through Congress, led by Representative Mary Rose Ocher of Ohio. She argued that for nearly 200 years, the faces on American money were exclusively men. Why, she demanded, should the new dollar coin be just another made-up goddess when there was a real, flesh-and-blood American hero who had changed the course of the nation? That hero was Susan Brownell Anthony. Born in 1820 in Massachusetts, raised in the strict moral discipline of a Quaker household, Susan B. Anthony was not just a nice lady who wanted to vote. She was a force of nature. She was a radical who spent 50 years of her life traveling the country by stagecoach, wagon, and train, giving up to 100 speeches a year in a time when women were expected to be silent. She was an abolitionist who collected nearly 400,000 signatures to end slavery. She was arrested and fined $100 for the crime of voting in the 1872 presidential election, and she famously declared she would never pay a penny of it, and she never did. The decision to put Susan B. Anthony on the dollar was more than just a coin redesign. It was a cultural earthquake. It marked the very first time in United States history that a circulating coin featured a real, non-mythical woman. For almost 200 years, only allegorical figures like the Roman goddess Liberty or portraits of male presidents had been permitted. Now, a woman who had spent her life fighting for the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote, was taking her place next to George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. On the obverse, or the front of the coin, we see her portrait. But this was not a flattering, airbrushed Hollywood portrait. Frank Gasparro was told to make her look strong, stern, and realistic. Some critics later said this made the coin ugly and contributed to its unpopularity. But for many collectors today, this stern gaze is exactly what makes it beautiful. It is the face of an unwavering 50-year-old warrior, not a beauty queen. Then there is the date, 1979. That is a crucial number in the story of this coin because it ties directly to the other side, the reverse. Look at the back of this 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar. You might ask yourself, what does an eagle landing on the moon have to do with a woman's suffragist? The answer is everything. And yet, in a way, nothing at all. The reverse of this coin is a direct copy of the Apollo 11 mission insignia. It shows a majestic American bald eagle with its wings swept back, clutching an olive branch in its talons, descending toward the lunar surface with the distant blue marble of Earth rising in the blackness of space above. The inscriptions read United States of America and $1. This design is a holdover from the previous Eisenhower dollar. It was created to celebrate the Apollo 11 moon landing, the moment Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin took humanity's first steps on another world. When the Mint decided to switch to the smaller Susan B. Anthony dollar in 1979, they were in a hurry and on a budget. Instead of creating a new reverse design, they simply recycled the moon landing eagle. It was an act of pure bureaucratic convenience. When the coin was released in 1979, the United States Mint went all in. They struck 1.5 billion of these coins in anticipation of a public hungry for a new dollar. They were ready for a revolution. Instead, they got a resounding shrug, followed by outright hostility. The problem was not the design or the message. The problem was the size and feel. The Susan B. Anthony dollar measures 26.5 millimeters in diameter, almost exactly the same size as a Washington quarter. And because it was made of the same copper-nickel-clad composition with a reeded edge, it felt almost exactly the same in your hand or in your pocket. Almost immediately, the public started calling it the Carter Quarter, a nickname that would have infuriated President Jimmy Carter, who signed the bill into law. Because of this massive rejection, the coin became a time capsule. While most dollar coins from history were worn smooth by commerce, many 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollars sat untouched in bank vaults for decades. This means that finding a 1979 coin in mint condition today is actually quite easy compared to older coins. However, not all 1979 Anthony dollars are created equal. This is where the story gets exciting for those of you who might be holding on to one of these right now, or who might be tempted to dig through a change jar. There are specific, rare versions of the $1,979 that are worth far, far more than just a buck. The most famous and valuable variety of the standard $1,979 is known as the wide rim variety, sometimes called the near date. This came exclusively from the Philadelphia Mint, and you can identify it with the naked eye. On a normal, common 1979 P dollar, there is a noticeable gap between the bottom of the date, 1979, and the outer rim of the coin. Before you rush to the bank to get a roll of dollars, I must be honest with you. 99.9% of the Susan B. Anthony dollars in circulation today, especially the ones from the Denver Mint marked with a D, or the standard narrow rim coins from Philadelphia, are worth exactly $1. They are a piece of history, but they are not a retirement fund. However, the thrill of the hunt is real. Every time you get change, you should look at the back. If it is a 1979 coin, check the rim. Check the mint mark. You just never know. The 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar failed as money. It confused the public. It sat in vaults. And it was forgotten. But it succeeded as a monument. It is the coin that broke the bronze ceiling. It is the first physical representation of a real American woman's contribution to the nation's story on the currency that built the nation. It is a coin that carries the weight of the women's suffrage movement on its face and the audacity of the Apollo 11 moon landing on its back. It is a pocket-sized piece of America that reminds us that while we are down here fighting for liberty and the right to be heard, we have the capacity to reach for the stars, and we have done so. It is a small dollar with a giant story. As for what this story is worth in simple terms, most standard circulated 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollars are worth about $1, but the rare 1979 P wide rim variety can be worth around $6 circulated and up to about $35 or more in high-grade uncirculated condition, while a flawless perfect proof can be worth several hundred to over $1,000.